All right, so the day is here, and I don't even want to say finally here because the entire rollout of this Chromebook and the new Duet from Lenovo have been really quick for Chromebook standards. But we have the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus here in the office. We got to use it for just a few minutes here and there up in New York at the Chromebook Showcase, but it's here in the office. We're ready to unbox it and begin the review process. I'm super excited to dig in a little bit deeper on this Chromebook, so let's get in the box. But before we get into all that, I wanted to extend a quick invitation to you to our just really awesome and quickly growing community. It's called Chrome Unboxed Plus, and it's a spot where other people who love Chromebooks and Google products and all that stuff can get together and talk about those things, but also share knowledge on all sorts of other things. It's a fantastic community, and by signing up for it, it's $2 a month. You get access to that community, but you also get access to exclusive AMAs. You get exclusive access to Joe and myself. You get ad-free access to the website and an ad-free feed of our podcast. And so it's a great value for $2 a month. And again, I can't stress enough, it's just a community of people that are really cool to be around. So if you're interested at all in something like that, head over to chromeunbox.com/join, and you can learn more and get started. All right, so I don't want to stand in the way of getting into this box at all. I will say, we have a video out of our time with this thing in New York, but at any of those shows, whether it's CES or any kind of hardware event, I don't know. It's hard to get a firm grasp on how good a device really is when it's, I don't know, at an event, when there's just a different energy. It's hard to explain. And so I've been just eagerly anticipating this device getting in here. And what's funny is for this device, instead of it just being about, usually it's just about, I want to use it. The whole reason we're all here and what we're doing at Chrome Unboxed is just because I like Chromebooks and I like getting my hands on new hardware. But this one's equally about being able to report like what it is like to use this Chromebook, because we're really excited about this one. For Samsung to kind of be back into this, it takes us back to 2020 pre-COVID. This is what this takes us back to. Right before COVID hit, we unboxed the first Samsung Galaxy Chromebook, and that video has tons of views, and a lot of people were interested in it for good reason. It was something special, and ever since then, it's like Samsung has kind of dropped off. Slowly but surely. Every Chromebook they released was a little bit more secure, a little bit more safe, a little bit more, not pushing boundaries as much as they once were. And so a little more reserved. And we just all kept waiting for them to get back to something like this. And so this is the Samsung Galaxy Chromebook Plus. And so let's just get in here. Again, if you've watched the video prior, it's not like you don't know what's in the box, but again, being able to handle it and have it, outside of that environment is kind of cool. So let's see, got a cool little flap here. And again, I appreciate an interesting box. So there's some different little things here, but it still looks very recyclable, because at the end of the day, you're going to probably not keep the box. So something that recycles easy is very good. I remember this. So the charger is basically it feels more like a phone charger. It's kind of a block and a cable. So this feels very phone-esque here, doesn't it? Having a little slim thing with your charging cord in it. USB-C charging cable, some paperwork. That's it there. Then here's your charging block. And we had an email that said that a handful of people, apparently we're one of them, got the European version. So yeah, if you're watching this near in the States, this isn't what they're going to send you. If I remember correctly, seeing it in New York, I feel like the brick was like about that big, but just standard USB-C on the back. But yeah, that's not going to be really usable for us here in the States. Nothing I can really do with that, but you aren't here to see a box anyway, or chargers. Let's be honest, we all have USB-C chargers around. Hopefully they'll get us a proper one, just because, I want to be able to test the charging ability on this thing. Oh, yep, just as pretty as I remember it. Before I move on, because I don't want to not come back to that point, with the charger specifically, this one, I remember while we were in New York, was showing like 11, 12, 13 hours of battery on a full charge. Obviously, for the review, we're going to be checking that kind of stuff out because OLED panels tend to really zap the battery. And so knowing how fast it'll charge up if the OLED panel does eke that battery out pretty quickly, something we definitely want to know. And I don't want to be plugging in a random charger to it. But yeah, this is the device I remember. And under this lighting, I feel like the blue is even different than it was in New York. And we said that in our original video. Like, this is such a very cool top end of a Chromebook. Like sitting here right here, it's like this really vibrant blue here, and it's this perfect gradient down to almost like a navy color down here, but I'm sure from different angles it looks different. Black bottom and a black interior, but you can't get away from the fact that this thing is just wildly thin. I mean, it's just so thin. I did this in our original video, but this is a very slim case on the Pixel 9 XL Pro, or Pixel 9 Pro XL, sorry. And you can see even in the back, the feet are there, so that's not even fair. Let me flip it this way. That's a better representation. And I mean, you can see even at its thickest point, I don't think it's as thick as this phone, or it's really close. It's just insane. 11, I think around 11 millimeters thick, and only 2.6 pounds. And man, it's been a little bit since I've handled it. I'm just blown away by how thin and light and rigid this thing feels. It is so well made, so well made. But yeah, let's crack this thing open here. All right, and if I remember from New York, yep, one finger lift. Again, those are cool engineering things. It's always worth noting those kind of things, because when you build a chassis this light, there's not a lot of weight in that base, and so really making sure that the hold on, let me click this before Chromebook starts yelling at me. It's really interesting the weighting that has to be in place for that one finger lift to happen so effortlessly and so smoothly, especially in a chassis that's this light. So that's very cool. And again, I mean, just this area right here is just so rigid. I mean, I can move it a little bit, and that's just the nature of something this thin. I mean, just look at the thinness and lightness of that thing. Speaking with Samsung, I mean, that was clearly the main intention. They wanted to make the thinnest, the lightest Chromebook Plus available, and so you'll see some of the things that are in this, work towards that goal. So there's no touchscreen in here. Part of that goal was thinness and lightness. Well, touchscreens add layers onto the screen, so you're adding thickness, it adds weight, all that kind of stuff. And so, some of those decisions at a $699 price point were made to make sure that this was the thinnest, lightest Chromebook Plus. And so you'll hear me talk about that a lot. I mean, there is just, I can't explain it. I hope this thing is in Best Buys for you all to go just check out. There's just no reason that something this wafer thin at the end should feel this rigid. I just love the way it feels. Picking it up is so light. Closing it, there's a little magnetic clasp. You can hear it there. Let me do that again. Just enough magnet so that the lid's not flopping around. I imagine being able to put this in my backpack and probably forgetting it's in there. It's just so well done. Around the sides, 2 USBs over here. Probably not going to be able to pick those up on camera. It's hard for my eyes to even see them. But a full-size HDMI port on something this thin. It's crazy. I'm having a hard time seeing. Micro SD card slot there. USB Type A. Headphone, microphone jack. So nice array of ports, again, for something this slim. Had they just put USB Type C ports on here, I don't think anybody would have been too mad about it. On the bottom, we've got a big sticker on here because this is clearly a reference model, not a full retail unit. But you have your downward firing speakers, and then your area here for cooling. And I think, we're not going to be able to get the light in here. I'm almost positive, I can't see it. I'm almost positive the single fan is right here. In the demo units that we got hands on in New York, I picked them up and tried to listen and couldn't even really hear the fan running there. But yeah, so let's crack this bad boy right back open here, and we'll talk about all the stuff that's on the inside. All right, so went ahead and got signed in and all that kind of stuff. And again, mixed with our time in New York with this device, which was, again, kind of minimal. And then just a few minutes of, navigating the menus and getting signed in. Just like always, I can kind of tell a handful of things about a device. So let's just let's start with the main things. So we've talked about thinness and lightness, obviously, already. Inside, you've got a Core 3, so Intel Core 3. It's a Raptor-like refresh. So the Core 3 100U processor, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, which I don't know that we've had that configuration in the office, but it should be very, very quick. I'm going to hold some of that stuff for the review, obviously, to be able to run some benchmarks and test some things. But everything so far has moved along nice and quick. So no issues with performance or anything like that. You have an AMOLED screen, so 1920 by 1280 or 1920 by 1080. I'm sorry, AMOLED screen. It's standard 15.6 inch 16 by 9 screen, but it's AMOLED, so the display just looks pretty incredible. I mean, even like off this angle right here, other than the glare we're getting from the studio lights, we have to crank down the brightness, obviously, for the cameras. Like the clarity and the colors and stuff are just so good. It's not a touchscreen, like I said, and part of that plays into this whole idea. It's thin, it's light. That's the motivating factor here. And so they didn't add to that. And obviously that would add to the cost as well. But the overall just look of this display panel looks fantastic. I think it's got like a 1 millisecond refresh rate on it, or not refresh rate, but latency. So the refresh rate's still 60 hertz. They did confirm that to us. But the response time on this thing is really low. And so, not that changes necessarily the animations, but I mean, hopefully you can see on the screen there. I mean, there's no like ghosting or anything like that on the screen. So that can be a problem. Like you can get a 60 hertz panel and have a bunch of ghosting and it looks, I don't know, they can look really weird. This one exhibits none of those things. Obviously the contrast ratio is ridiculous. It just looks incredible. It gets up to 400 nits. So now we've talked about screen, we've talked about internals, tons of speed, gorgeous. I mean, it is just a gorgeous screen. It looks so nice. And obviously very thin bezels, very thin top line here. But then you come down to the keyboard, and with a device that's super thin, obviously a lot of times the keyboard can kind of take a hit, and this is a great keyframe. I mean, it is low travel. There's not a ton of travel there, but I'm okay with low travel as long as the response, like the click under your fingers, is very sure and the keys are tight. So if the keys are wobbling around and there's not a very specific click, you can almost get lost. You can't tell if you actually hit the key or not when there's no travel. This one takes care of all of that. It's very quiet. It reminds me a ton of the original Galaxy Chromebook, of the Pixelbooks, the Pixelbook Go, that kind of keyboard that just feels very sure. It helps that the frame is wildly rigid, obviously, and so it just feels great. And the backlighting of the keyboard isn't leaking all over the place. It just lights up the keys, basically, and so much appreciated there. Love that. And then you have a nice, huge all glass trackpad. So here's my hand over it. I mean, there's a big trackpad, and there's obviously no flopping around here. Really quiet. Very good click. So zero complaints whatsoever there. And I've said this in a bunch of videos, but when it comes down to it, the majority of things you interact with are right here. So our screen, keyboard, trackpad. If those things are really, really good, you can forgive a lot of other things, and that's what you're going to kind of hear me say about this device in general. The performance isn't a problem, obviously, here, but there are devices that maybe don't have the best performance in the world. But if the screen's really good, the keyboard's really good, the trackpad's really good, it's like you kind of forgive some of those things because these are your primary interaction points. But then you mix that with a really nice I/O, you mix that with some really decent performance, what I'm expecting here at least, and then you put it in a chassis that feels like this. I'm telling you, you got a winner. You got a winner here. So let's take a look at a couple other things real quick before we wrap this up. We'll take a look at the speakers because I have no idea what those sound like. And we'll take a look at the camera real quick. I did forget though, before we get into speakers and camera, the keyboard, I talked about how good it feels and the backlighting and all that stuff. That stuff's obviously super important, but there are other keys on this keyboard and layouts that I haven't mentioned in this video particularly. So let's talk about those real quick. First up, the function keys. If you'll notice, there's a bunch of them. There's 15 function keys up here, and there's a numeric keypad. I'll say this about the numeric keypad. I like the fact that they're full size. I've seen them cram them into 15.6-inch Chromebooks, and they're like narrow keys. I don't think there's a whole lot of use there. So you're getting full size numeric keys. But if you've ever used a numeric keypad, in general, a plus and an enter or an equals button are on the right side. That's just the way it works on those old calculators and stuff. And so if you're used to using those for inputs, those keys aren't there. So I don't love that. And so I'm like, if you're going to kind of dwarf this feature here, this is just me. Let's take that out. Let's center the keyboard trackpad up and put some upward firing speakers here. That's just what I think should do. Or, maybe next time around, let's go with a 16:10 screen and put a speaker row up top. I don't love downward firing speakers in any device. I get it. It's a tiny, thin chassis. So again, certain things have to be kind of adjusted to make up for that. But not a deal breaker or anything like that. But maybe a numeric keypad without those buttons over here is important for some people. I don't use them a ton. So yeah, it's there. But more importantly, the function keys up here, we get a couple extras that we don't have in Chromebooks. And we even get a couple different icons here. Hopefully Joe can kind of see those. So like your overview button, that's a different graphic. I would assume that's what it's going to start being, but that gives you your kind of overview, and then the kind of your recent links and stuff down here at the bottom. So the welcome recap feature that just launched, it has that look. So when you load into the Chromebook, it kind of says you want to resume all your stuff, and it has some other stuff down here. But every time you go into overview mode, now you get this thing. That's the overview button now. It looks quite a bit different. It used to be like three boxes kind of next to each other. Obviously your screen capture, screen brightness, keyboard brightness. I love having keyboard brightness on the function keys. It's nice. It's just a nice touch. But this one is actually a dictation button. We talked about it, found commits for that. So when you click into that, it's going to ask you if you want to turn on your dictation. It's nothing new. It's not a different dictation. It's just the same dictation that has been on Chromebooks for a long time. There's just a button for it. So if you turn on dictation, you can just click that key and start talking, and everything you type or everything you say will just start being typed wherever that text field is. And then you have a dedicated accessibility key right next to that as well. So it's actually going to bring up your accessibility in your quick settings. Again, if you turn on accessibility in your quick settings, you can get this on your Chromebook. It's not like it's doing anything new. It's just there's a button there for it, because Google said, hey, look, we found a lot of people use accessibility features, whether they need them or not. And so like I've used dictation quite a bit. I can type and speak fine. I don't have problems there where I need those things to work, but I find them useful still. And so they're saying that accessibility features are great for people that need accessibility features. Like those are awesome things to have, but there's people that don't even really need them that still end up using them too. So that's why they went ahead and put that key up here. Here's your play, pause, your volume adjustments, all that kind of stuff. So none of that's different, but adding all those keys in, now you got 15 function keys up top. And then you have the two keys that change that are rocking my world right now, because I'm trying to get used to it, because Google says this is what the future is going to look like for Chromebook keyboards. You now have the quick insert key that is also a caps. I guess if you alt, let's see. Oh, I bet you it's function. I forget. There's a function key on here. There it is. There's a function key on here as well. So it's a lot to get used to. If you're a Chromebook person that's been on Chromebooks for a long time, like myself, the launcher key moving down here, it's a G key now. It's still just your launcher key. But there's a G key, and they've even changed the logo down here. So that's a pretty significant change. Not a functional change, but just a significant change, because that button's now down in that area where the Alt key would normally be. And then your quick insert button, which if you're on a regular Chromebook and you want to try this, if you're on Chrome OS 130, it's actually launcher F now. It'll bring up this quick insert, which has all kinds of just different stuff that you can drop stuff in from Drive. You can search your files. I mean, you can search Google Drive from here. Your latest links, your clipboard, all that kind of stuff's always there. And it's available across the OS. I think it's going to be a game-changing kind of thing. I think eventually, once I get used to using it, it's going to be amazing. But I've got 10 years of that launcher, search, everything key being right there at my pinky. I've been at it a week. I changed it on my other keyboard so I can just start getting my mind around it. It's not going well so far. I still mess it up pretty often. But I think eventually it's going to be a big deal. But that's a big change. Like some extra features up here in the top and the functions, no big deal. that's a big change. And it's going to be interesting to see how people kind of adapt to that difference. But yeah, quick insert is here with a specific key. Launcher is now down here on this Chromebook and apparently other Chromebooks moving forward. All right, so finally, let me bring up a YouTube video. Let's see what these speakers sound like, because again, I didn't get to listen to these at the event. Because I mean, at an event, it's loud. There's tons of people talking. Like trying to listen to laptop speakers in that environment, it's just not really a thing. Let me actually bring this up. They're downward firing, and this is a thin chassis, so I don't have huge hopes here, but you never know. Let's just see. So we are back in the studio after returning from New York at Google's latest Chromebook Showcase. They're okay. And we're so excited to be able to unbox. Decently loud, but I can talk right over this. Duet. There's no. Let's hear what the music sounds like. No versions, nothing. It's just the new Lenovo Chromebook Duet. It's got some really cool. Very excited to be unboxing this here on the camera with you. This guy talks too much. So we can see what this thing's all about. So yeah, they're not super loud, but they have a decent dynamic range to them. They don't sound amazing by any stretch of the imagination. Again, I go back to this idea of thin, light Chromebook Plus was the goal. Fitting in great speakers probably wasn't high on the priority list. Clearly, it's not something they focused big on. If you're expecting something like the Pixelbook Go or HP Dragonfly Chromebook, don't expect that. That's not what this is. So let's pull up the camera here. See, I just about hit that quick insert key. It's going to take some getting used to here. So it's a 1080p camera. They're just meeting that Chromebook Plus spec. The colors look good, but it definitely looks, a tad grainy. I mean, it's not bad at all. Point it over at Joe. Yeah, you can see it. We've kind of got a big light up here, but it's doing a pretty decent job exposing that stuff. And ultimately, these Chromebooks, what I really want out of them is to get a decent color, like balance the colors pretty well. If it's a little grainy, it's a little grainy. It's not that big of a deal. But as long as we don't have like wild blown out highs and like shadows that are crushed all over the place, it's getting the job done. But what this tells me is don't buy this Chromebook because it's got the best camera you've ever seen in it. I'll just tell you the Duet, the new Duet 11-inch, it's got better cameras than this. Don't buy this because it's going to be like just this sonic powerhouse. It's definitely not. I can tell you that right now. But all the rest of the pieces that make a great Chromebook experience, and to me, speakers and a camera aren't high on that list. I mean, they're functional pieces. A great screen, a great keyboard, a great trackpad, and good performance, all in a really solid chassis that you like to look at and feel. Those are the bigger pillars for me. And so far, I can tell you, this thing just knocks them out of the park. Now, it's not like it just accomplishes those things. Like, hey, you got over the finish line. Good job. You finished the race. Like, they've built something really incredible here. There's just something about it. Like, even closing it up, I'm just like, holy crap. I can't believe that all that Chromebook resides in this little bitty frame. It's impressive for sure. What I hope, I forgot to look at this. What I really hope is that we don't get to the review process and have to say anything like we did. I messed my pin up apparently. I might have to put my password in. I hope we don't get to the end of this and end up having to, with the original Galaxy Chromebook, I had to be like, look, it's all great. This thing's gravy. It's awesome. But the battery life is so bad, it's a deal breaker for a lot of people. I hope that's not the case. I should have shown this to you earlier. I clicked in it and I didn't show it to you. It's up to 7. Earlier, the battery life was at like 98% and it showed, I think it's like 14 hours or something. It's going to fluctuate when you're messing around with stuff. We obviously have to hold that stuff out for the review, but Google and Samsung claim, I think, 13 hours of use for this. And so you're probably going to be at about 50% brightness on your screen to get those kind of numbers, but they're going to fluctuate. I was hoping to open it up and show that to you. But I'm expecting really good battery life out of this thing too. And I mean, the fan is, I think it's on. That's how quiet it is. I could kick up another notch. I don't know. We got a lot of stuff to cover in the review, obviously, for this thing, but so far, so good. This thing is impressive. Picking it up and just looking at it on the table is just so impressive. I'm so excited about this device. Is it going to be the perfect device for every single person out there? No. I mean, if you have to have a pen input, or you have to have a touchscreen, or you have to have a convertible, then obviously this isn't going to be the Chromebook for you. But for those people that are like, man, I just need a good clamshell Chromebook, and I need something that isn't bulky and taking up a lot of space in my backpack, this thing is just going to be such a knockout for so many people. I think they did their homework on what people want in a Chromebook, and it feels like they've really knocked it out of the park. But we got to get to our full review on this, and that means that we have to end this video. So if you liked it, give us a thumbs up, head down there, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to ring the notification icon as well if you'd like to be alerted when we make future videos like this one. Until next time, we'll see you.